Yeah, let's put Sam a little higher. That's louder. Yeah.
Is that my dad shaking up on the mic?
Are you asking if I'm in? Can you hear? Can you
Thank
see
you,
it?
our beloved in-person community, for your patience. We had a few more details than usual this morning.
Actually, Catherine,
Yeah.
could you locate a box of tissues and bring it to Shu? Thank you.
Thank you.
Tissues to shoe.
Tissues to Shu.
Tissues,
Tissues to shoe.
tissues, tissues.
There. How's that?
Usually that would be Shu. Leah, our holy, blessed, impromptu sound person extraordinaire, if you are comfortable hanging out there for a little bit and see if adjusting needs, like for Deb's talking voice or Sam's talking voice or something's getting covered up by the drum, you can always tell me to take it down. Yeah. Thank you, dear.
Please join in wherever you are. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. We've never done this before, and we've done this every week, forever. And it's true that this is what our people do. Our people keep doing what we do, practicing our traditions, practicing these ancient ways in circumstances that keep changing. And so there is something exquisitely beautiful about this moment, about this 21st century gathering that's partly in person and partly on the miraculous interweb. And I'm thinking about during the AIDS crisis, for example, where we didn't have this technology, and other times when being isolated meant being isolated in a much more profound kind of way. And we have this technology that doesn't eliminate the isolation, but it allows for a certain degree of connection in the midst of the isolation. And so here we are, and still our response to crisis usually is to come together, everybody gather. And in crises in the last several years, this room has been packed with our community, and that isn't available to us in this moment. So we're holding all of this. And we're on a learning curve, figuring out how to do this in a new way. So we're gonna try some things on this Shabbat morning, and you'll all tell us how it goes, and we'll try it again next week, and it'll go differently, and we'll keep learning, and we'll keep growing this community. One thing we're hoping to do is to invite you all who are not in the room with us to act like you are. And we don't have the Siddur online yet. We'll try to get that done soon. But the invitation is to sing wherever you are, with whoever you are, with or all by yourself, as fully and as joyously or sadly as you would do if you were here. We'll do other things differently to try to include more people. Beth?
I just want to say thank you for not canceling, for figuring out how we can continue. So many other organizations, including synagogues, have just shut their doors when we need them the most. So thank you for figuring it out to continue.
Thank you for that. Beth just offered some gratitude for the fact that we're streaming, and I want to build on that gratitude to say a huge thank you to Leah Barrow and to Ronan Raz, who stepped up and made the streaming happen and went and procured the equipment that was needed and came multiple times to the sanctuary to figure out how to do it and are with us making it happen. So thank you to both of you, and thank you. I want to especially thank our board co-chairs, Catherine Lyons and Karen Cohn, who are here all the time now, taking care of everything. This community is stepping up in so many ways, and we'll continue to figure out how to do that, to keep taking care of each other in a situation that is changing every day and going to get a lot more serious for a lot more of us. So this is the beginning of that. I want to lift up this Jewish value of pikuach nefesh, which is the value that we're practicing primarily in all of our decision-making now. We understand that this pandemic is a life-threatening one, and that the way that we act day to day will impact the number of lives lost and the number of lives not lost. And so that value of saving lives, increasing the chances that fewer lives are lost, is driving us now and will continue to drive us in all that we do. So we might have a lot more technology in this room on Shabbat, and that'll be okay because it's in the service of pikuach nefesh, preserving life. And the other unique and very special thing about this Shabbat is that we have Rabbi Sam Lucky with us. Rabbi Sam is a candidate in our assistant rabbi search process. Rabbi Sam was born and raised in Oakland and is due to be ordained this June at Hebrew College in Boston. They grew up within the Kehillah community and participated in JICA, and as a young adult, they were a member of Kehillah's board of directors and served as our co-chair for 3 years, and more recently, they served as Kehillah's first rabbinic intern in the spring of 2018. Rabbi Sam also took part in launching our Belonging and Allyship Project, Kehillah's racial justice initiative, and co-founded Glitter Kehillah, a welcoming Jewish community for people in their 20s and 30s. And Rabbi Sam also organized and led Kehillah's Rad Trad Cop Shop, our monthly liturgically traditional, radically inclusive Friday night service that has continued to thrive even with Rabbi Sam in Boston. Before starting rabbinical school, they were a professional circus performer for more than a decade, and they continue to practice and teach hand-puns. Welcome, Sam. Thank you also for being so flexible and adaptable and present and available to have this unfold in ways that none of us imagined. So we're going to open with gratitude practice, and Rabbi Sam is going to lead us.
I want to say almost Rabbi Sam. I'm not ordained yet, but I will try to hold back. Starting now, moving forward. So for our gratitude practice this morning, we'll sing Modeh Ani, or Moda Ani. And before we do, I invite us to bring in gratitude. Gratitude it's a practice. The practice part of the practice is doing it over and over in different circumstances, in different energetic spaces. And this morning we have another chance to practice together. And in this time of social distancing, I want us to focus our gratitude this morning on each other, on our connections to each other, our love and caring for each other. So I'll invite us to take a couple minutes to bring into your heart the people you are grateful for. Some of them, I'm sure we can't extensively momentarily invite all of them in, but some or many of them, including people here in the room together, including our many community members listening or watching through the internet. Let's feel our connection to each other, that despite the physical distance is as strong or stronger than ever. I invite you to take a couple minutes and we'll begin singing. Modeh Ani is on page 2. From this web of connection and interconnection and internet connection, we'll sing Modeh Ani on page 2. Modeh Ani lefanecha, Ruach
there are a lot of words. So if you're not in a place where you can look at these words, we'll do a lot of hallelujah in between. That's a place where you can join in. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah,
As we praise, we build praise. And at some point, it might overwhelm us and be too much to hold. Praise as wide and deep as the sea. On page 15, Ilu Dinu.
And the transliteration at the bottom of page 14.
Ilufinu Male Shira Kayan, were our mouths with song as full as the sea, it would still not be enough to express our gratitude.
page 17, Francie Cottage, rise in body and spirit, wherever we are. We open up this space for gratitude for the light of the morning, the light of the day, and the blessings of the earth, and the blessings of this land, this ancestral Chochenyo and Kharkin Ohlone land. I want to share a teaching from Karina Gould, who is a Chochenyo Ohlone leader and the spokesperson of the Confederated Villages of Lishan. She posted this week, and it's also posted, if you want to follow along, on the Kihila group Facebook page. Karina wrote, "Perhaps this time calls for us to do something else as human beings. As events are being canceled and we can't gather together in large groups, we can spend time on the land and planting and cracking acorns and harvesting foods and testing water and sharing with one another. Maybe since so many people are not in their cars and learning a different way to be on this earth, we can take the time to look outside to see how much cleaner the air is. Maybe this time is calling on us to realize that we have a chance to change this and fix the mistakes that humans made in the destruction of this earth. Maybe we still have a chance to stop climate disaster. Maybe." Continue to lift up gratitude for the light, gratitude for the land on this beautifully rainy morning, maybe one of the last rains of the season. Or Chadash on page 22.
Baruch atah Adonai, hahavaya kulo v'sodom ka, yotzeh ha'me'orot. Continuing at the top of page 23 with our prayer for love. Ahava Rabbah Atanu. With a great love, you have loved us. And you will love us into oneness again and again and again. We'll chant just these 3 potent words, which will lead us to Shema on page 25. And whether you're wearing a talis, a talit, a prayer shawl, or not, we can all participate in the ingathering of all our disparate parts. The parts of us that feel loving, and the parts of us that feel worried. The parts of us that feel connected, and the parts of us that feel separate. We get to gather all those parts into love, into oneness with all that is. Ahava Rabbah Atanu, Ahava Rabbah Atanu, Ahava Rabbah Atanu, Ahava Rabbah השכינה. ההוויה בקרבנו בכל המעשים, עוקבת בכל הבא. שמע ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננת על לבניך ודיברת בם, ושבתך בביתך ולכתך על הדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, ושרת מאוד על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך. Continue on our own, pages 26, 27, 28. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
On page 29, we'll sing the Mi Chamocha, a song of celebration together. A song that celebrates getting through something very hard. And as we are in something collectively that is very hard, we can hold that somehow we'll get through and celebrate. So from the middle of the sea, we imagine the destination across the sea. We're going to do a call and response melody for Micha Mocha. We'll teach it in a moment and practice here, calling and responding. And then we will invite all of us here in the room to do the call, and all of you in all of your rooms to respond in the song. We'll try it out. On page 29. What's that tune? Okay, thank you. Ba'elim Adonai,
Ba'elim Adonai,
mi kamocha,
mi kamocha,
neder b'kodesh.
neder b'kodesh.
Let's try it again. That's wonderful. We'll do one more try in the room, and then we're going to switch into all of us calling and all of you responding. Michamocha,
Michamocha,
Ba'elim Adonai,
Ba'elim Adonai,
Michamocha,
mi kamocha,
neder b'kodesh.
neder b'kodesh.
Ready?
Mi kamocha, Ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha, neder b'kodesh.
We're going to continue. Shira Chadasha,
Shivrechu Geuli, L'Shimcha, Al Sefat Hayam, Yachad Kulam, Hodu Ve'imliku, Ve'amram Amru, Ve'am Amru, Adonai Yimloch, Le'olam,
back to the top. All of us.
Ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha, neder b'kodesh.
Just as we present in the room have called out and listened for a response that we can't directly, immediately hear, but perhaps can sense. We will be moving now into the silent personal Amidah, a time for our own prayers, either following the liturgy, pages 35 through 37, 32 through 37-ish, or the prayers of our hearts. And as we join together in our personal prayers, I invite you to also call out and listen out in the silence. Please rise in spirit and with body.
Silence is praise. For you, silence is praise. For you, silence is praise. For you, silence is praise.
45.
Shalom Ibrahim. Uyase shalom aleinu. Ve'al Yisrael. Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Ve'imru. Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru,
Amen. Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. And for all the creatures that dwell on the earth, there should be wholeness, peace, completeness, so we're going to do a little bit of taking Torah. We'll still do a procession, but we'll do it a little distancy. And we're excited to hear new ideas for how to do Torah services at a distance. I feel like this is one place where we don't really have our creative twist yet, but bring it. So I invite you to rise in body and spirit as we open the heart. Torah service is on
Page 52.
52.
and response words on page 54.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shema.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shema.
Gadol Adonai iti, uneromero Shemo Yachdav.
You can be seated. So I'll mention now, and I should have mentioned before that we were hoping to have our musical peer leader, Beth Dickinson, with us this morning. She's not feeling well, and she's doing what we all need to do, and we don't feel well, so we wish Beth a refuah shlema, and that this is a simple little coldy kind of thing. What that means is that Chazan Shulamit is going to cover the Torah reading, and we'll do it in the way that we need to do it to get it done, with a little bit of notice. So, this week's Torah portion is something.
Sam will tell us all about it.
Sam will tell us all about it. I'm going with Rabbi Sam. I feel like that's appropriate at this point. And so we'll hear Rabbi Sam's teaching after the Torah reading. And folks who are in the room have a copy of the Torah handout. Folks who are not in the room, we're going to be reading, if you have access to a Chumash or to a Torah,
Or to Sefaria.com.
or if you have access to Sefaria.com.
It's not
.org.
.org. Sefaria.
SEFARIA.com.
Thank you. We are reading from the book of Exodus, chapter 30, verses 17 through 29. Really, we're gonna do that one? Okay, let's do it. Great. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do that in one aliyah. And for this aliyah, I want to invite anybody who feels called to the Torah. We're going to do it in a in-place kind of way. So if you'd like to be part of this aliyah, wherever you are, if it's comfortable to stand, you're invited to stand. If it's comfortable to rise in another way, or just raise a hand or raise a foot for a minute, or whatever you want to do to change your posture or change your position so that it feels like it's a little bit different during the aliyah than it has been during this other time, as a way of honoring Torah and honoring your own call to be close to this Torah. I invite you to do that. Okay. Yamdu, everybody who would like to rise for this aliyah. As long as Shulamit's gonna find her spot, and then
What's up? We're here.
the blessings for the aliyah are on page 55. Baruch Hu Adonai Habarach, Baruch Adonai Habarach Le'am Baruch Adonai Habarach Le'am Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu min kol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen. V'daber Adonai el Moshe לאמור, ועשית כי יור נחושת וחנו נחושת לרוחצה, ונתת אותו בין אוהל מועד ובין המזבח, ונתת שמה מים. ורחצו אהרון ובניו ממנו את ידיהם ואת רגליהם. בבואם אל אוהל מועד ירחצו מים ולא ימותו. וגישתם אל המזבח לשרת, להקטיר אישה לאדוני, ורחצו ידיהם ורגליהם ולא ימותו. והייתה להם חוק עולם, לא וזרעו לדורותם. וידבר אדוני אל משה לאמור, ואתה קח לך ושמים ראש מר דרור 500, וקינמן בשם מחציתו 50 200, וקנה בושם 50 200, וקידה 500 בשקל הקודש, ושמן זית היא, ועשית אותו. שמן משחת קודש, רוקח מרקחת, מעשה רוקח. שמן משחת קודש יהיה. ומשכת בו את אוהל מועד, ואת ארון העדות, ואת השולחן, ואת כל כליו, ואת המנורה, ואת כליה, ואת מזבח הקטורת, ואת מזבח הקטורת, ואת מזבח העולה, ואת כל כליו, ואת הכיור, ואת חנו, וקידשת אותם, והיו קודש קדשים, כל הנוגע בהם יקדש.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam natan b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen. If you're standing for the Aliyah, you can take a seat. We'll continue with the Mishabera for healing. And I feel we're preparing to deepen our practice of this prayer. And so I want to open the question of what is it that we're invoking, that we're calling on when we enter into this practice, because my hope is that if we have obstacles to praying for healing, that we can, in this time, start to remove those obstacles. If those obstacles include a belief that if praying could affect outcomes, the world would be different than it is. And that's a real concern. And for me, prayer is a mystery, and the invitation to practice and step into the mystery is one that, in my experience, has allowed understanding that can only come from inside the practice. And when I was a teenager, my childhood rabbi invited us one holy days into this practice without having to know first. And it really changed everything for me and continues to. So wherever this kind of practice lands for you, whatever it means for you, this is a time when we're invited into exploring it from the inside. I don't know what it will mean for us individually or collectively, but it's a practice that we've been given, it's a tool that we've been given to meet moments like this, and we'll discover together what it will be for us in this time. And I also want to say that this past week especially, I've felt the presence of the people in our community who rose up in response to AIDS and HIV. And there are many people in our community who shifted everything that they were doing 30 years ago to meet that virus and lived their lives from that place. And those people, including Catherine Lyons and Rabbi Yoel Kahn, have been the people that I've been talking to this week, and I know there are many more. And we have that to lean into. We have their experience, we have their wisdom. So I want to express gratitude to them, and I want to just share how deep it's felt to me to be facing this time with people like that, and to appreciate everything that they and so many others did at that time, and now it's a light for us. So I invite you, wherever you are, to hold in your hearts and to say out loud the names of people who are in need of healing, so that we can bring them into the circle of prayer. In our community this morning, we're also praying for healing for Michael Sachs Toller, for Simon Marcus, for Graham Castle, for Gabriella Heisenheimer Gescher, for Nancy Brunn, Julie Petruski, China Bear Joseph, Laura Petracek, Laura Boxer, Sandy Brett, Susan Freundlich, Laura Rifkin, Shira Bat-Shimon Bachana, Elaine Waldman, Peter Garabedian, David Levine, for Annie Kennedy, Gail Greenbaum, for Richard Kaplan, and for Yisrael Chai Kogan, for Yosef Baruch Ben Barbara, for Judith Demboik, Yehudit Young Bat Bela, for Sarah Samuels, for Larry, for everybody who's stricken now by this virus, that they should find healing and strength, access to healthcare, access to testing, access to the economic and social support that we all need to move through the illness of somebody in our family, that all that should come to all of those who are ill. And we'll pray together on page 56.
We'll begin off book with the English. We sing you healing. We sing you care. We sing you justice. We sing you prayer. We sing you healing. We sing you care. We sing you justice. We sing you prayer. We sing you healing. We sing you care. We sing you justice. We sing you prayer.
It's also our practice to offer an opportunity to bench Gomel to say a blessing, a prayer for having come through a life-threatening or harrowing experience. And there may be somebody here who wants to do that. There may be people streaming who want to do that, so I think we're going to do it for anybody for whom that may be the right thing at this moment. If you're here and you want to do that, I invite you to come.
And everyone is invited to respond to those among us who we might not be able to see, who are benching Gomel this morning, by responding in prayer on page 56, the second line of the Gomel blessing. Baruch atah Hashem humbly I stand before you today, blessed with the gift of life. Yishmael koto, Yishmael koto selah. May the gracious one who heard your prayers guide your steps in peace.
Amen. It's also a time for us to share, simplest, to share anything that's bringing us some joy. We have a tradition that doesn't allow for only one thing. It doesn't allow for just sad, doesn't allow for just happy. It's always all mixed up together. Sometimes we need to dig a little deeper to find it. But it's a blessing to all of us to share any joy that has come your way this week or that you're anticipating. And for folks streaming, to say that too out loud to somebody, to maybe write a note to somebody, send me an email. I'm really eager to hear what's bringing you joy.
You could even put it in the chat.
Do we have a working chat, Leah?
Yes.
We think we have a working chat, so if you want to put it in the chat. What's that?
It's being used.
Oh, it's being used. Awesome. Is there anything we should know?
Joyce?
Okay. Oh, we don't know. Sorry. Leah's very far away. She's going to come down now to look at the chat. Jamie.
I am very grateful today because I have a partner who is very straightforward and whenever she's not right, she'll say, "This is the weather report. I am grouchy this morning because I didn't sleep last night." And that just takes such a load off to just acknowledge your own feelings and take responsibility for that. And then the other person can say, "Oh, hi, honey, I love you." So I recommend it as a practice. Acknowledge your own feelings, own them, and then move forward.
Thank you. Monica.
Yesterday, Friday the 13th, was my daughter Shalina's birthday. And I learned in last Shabbat that 13 is a lucky number in the Jewish tradition, and I told her that. And she was very happy because yesterday was also the day she was going to find out if she got into the master's program she's applying to, and she did.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Beth.
After going through a long, difficult period of having my yard torn up multiple times for sewer lateral problems, finally finished and graded it over, and I reseeded, and the grass is visibly coming up despite being pecked at by multiple birds. And it just feels really good to watch those green sprouts finally come up.
Great. Thank you. Beth is feeding the birds and growing a new lawn.
Well, I'm feeling very grateful that it's been a sad couple weeks for our family, but I'm so grateful that Isaiah was able to come home and be here this morning. He brings us so much joy, and we didn't want the college year to end short, but we are very happy to have him here, and he brings a lot of joy to his grieving grandfather as well.
Go, Pomse. I'm sharing your joy, Hallie, because Isaiah and my son Jesse go to the same school, and Jesse's on a plane right now. Should be landing in the next hour or so. So I'm really grateful for that.
Do you want me to just say a couple from?
Do we have some simchas?
We have some simchas.
Awesome.
Do you want me to hand it?
Sure, do it.
Okay.
Unprecedented times in this sanctuary allow for unprecedented. Yes. We have a lot of gratitude for our successful streaming venture and for our kahila, our community. We have gratitude for how and celebration for how our school community came together to support families and make good decisions for our kahila school. More love and joy to have our spiritual community in good times and difficult and uncertain times too. Joy for the flowering trees. They might give some of us a little trickle, but oh, I agree. Madeline Atkins had a birthday last week.
Happy birthday, Madeline.
Joy and for walking in the rain. Can we hear rain?
Rain.
More rain, and more rain coming in. Thank you, Bracha Stone. Sorry I didn't name everyone earlier. I just realized I can read that small too. Oh, Shifra, Rabbi Shifra is grateful for all of us, for Shabbat, for love and technology. Rabbi Chaya, joy for eating and for planting time.
How many people are dialed in?
65.
Whoa! More than we usually get.
All right, I think what we're going to do is a blessing for the Aliyah. I think that's what we're going to do. So if you stood for this Aliyah and just took a break and would like to re-rise in whatever way that you were risen. Yishaberach Avotenu ve'imotenu, may the one who blessed our ancestors bless all of us who've risen today in honor of Torah and in honor of Shabbat and in honor of meeting this moment in ways that we didn't know were possible and in ways that are emerging as necessary and in ways that continue to bring us together despite whatever amount of distance there may be between us. May this practice of coming together around Torah continue to sustain us as we move into more challenging times. May we continue to gather in every possible way that we can gather and still be healthy. And may we continue to take care of all the people that we can see around us and keep in our minds all the people that we can't see around us and make sure that we're taking care of each other. May the strength of Torah and the wisdom of the ancestors and the backing that we know that they offer us give us strength and hold us up and call us into rest in a good rhythm of Shabbat. And may that rest reinvigorate us for the next week to come and its many surprises. And may we stick together with love and with community and with commitment. And let us say, Amen. So we'll lift and dress the Torah. We'll leave her on the table so that she can hear the teaching that Sam's going to offer.
Page 57.
Kitisa. This week's Torah portion is action-packed. The scene opens with Moses receiving a few more instructions from God about how to establish the Mishkan, the traveling holy tabernacle. Then some hard news. God tells Moses that the Israelites are worshiping a golden calf idol. Moses convinces God to not destroy them entirely, then comes down from Mount Sinai, breaks the tablets in his anger, and reprimands and punishes the Israelites. Moses then returns up the mountain and again convinces God to not abandon the people. God describes God's self using 13 attributes, and Moses requests to see God face to face. Instead, God passes by Moses while he is protected in a rock cleft. Rebellion, persuasion, God's desire to destroy, then abandon the people, a dramatic escalation of intimacy between God and Moses after their confrontation. Never a dull moment. Something we can unfortunately all relate to right now. But when I was rereading this Torah portion, one of its quieter moments jumped out to me. After chapters of instructions about exactly how to build the Mishkan and its implements, God gives Moses a couple last directions at the beginning of Kitisa. Quote, and sung beautifully by Shulamit earlier, "Make a laver of copper and a stand of copper for it, for washing, and place it between the tent of meeting and the altar. Put water in it, and let Aaron and his sons wash their hands and feet in water drawn from it. When they enter the tent of meeting, they shall wash with water." Several rabbinic commentators note that this vessel is new to the picture, whereas all the other furnitures and accoutrements of the Mishkan were described in great detail in Exodus chapters 25 through 28. It's a lot of detail. They offer explanations to solve the puzzling question of why was the water basin described only here? Chizkuni, a 13th century French rabbi and biblical commentator, posits that the laver is mentioned here because, quote, it was only for the preparation of doing a mitzvah, of performing a commandment, not for the mitzvah itself, like the rest of the vessels described earlier. Sforno, an Italian rabbi and biblical commentator who lived a couple centuries later, specifies that the water basin was not yet mentioned because, quote, its purpose, its kavanah, its intention, was not to cause the presence of the Shekhinah to dwell in the mikdash, in the sanctuary, like the purpose of the other vessels described before. Rather, its purpose was to prepare the priests for their service. The hand-washing basin is located between the tent of meeting and the altar, just outside the holy space, so that, according to Chizkuni, the priests can enter after washing. These rabbis emphasize the difference between the purpose of the water basin and the other vessels, highlighting its role in preparation for encounter with the divine and doing holy acts. The Kohanim, the priests, are instructed to wash their hands and feet, quote, in their entering the Vo'am, as part of the transition into holy space and holy service. Hand washing, we are told, is an essential preparation for engaging with holy work. In fact, the Torah describes it as vitally important. V'bo'am el ohel moed yirchatzu mayim velo yamutu. In their entering the tent of meeting, they shall wash with water, that they may not die. Or when they approach the altar to serve, to turn into smoke an offering by fire to God, they shall wash their hands and their feet, that they may not die. It shall be a law for all time for them and their offspring, for all their generations. In these last few days and weeks, I have been washing my hands much more frequently than usual. How about you? Yeah. As we are being instructed, I have been counting to 20, or singing a song, and scrubbing thoroughly with soap, then meticulously avoiding touching oft-touched surfaces such as doorknobs and banisters, and trying desperately to avoid touching my face, which is really hard. With the new coronavirus, we are all taking heightened precautions, and God's declaration to Moses that they shall wash their hands and feet, that they may not die, resonates with new meaning. We know that slowing the spread of the virus through frequent hand washing, among other measures, will save lives. I learned hand washing technique from the San Francisco campus of Jewish Living volunteer coordinator, when she trained a cohort of new volunteers to provide spiritual care visits to elderly residents there. I have recently participated in Kol HaNeshama, the Jewish Healing Center's end-of-life spiritual care training, and was excited and nervous to try my hand at an entirely new kind of relationship with a segment of the population I was less familiar with, namely octo and nonagenarians. we were instructed, top and bottom of each hand, between the fingers and fingertips on both sides. I had always thought of myself as a thorough hand washer, but this was a whole new level. Each fingernail. It felt reassuring to learn a technique that was tried and trusted, so that I could interact with a more vulnerable group of people more safely. A year later, the technique came in handy again, pun intended, when I spent the summer doing a chaplaincy training program at Alta Bates and Summit hospitals. I was stationed on the 10th floor of Summit, charged with providing spiritual care to patients and staff on this mixed orthopedic, medical, and surgery unit. Hand washing became a core part of my day. I washed diligently when I first arrived, and before and after every visit with a patient. I thought it would feel like a chore, incessantly needed to do, like washing dishes. What I didn't anticipate was that it became a ritual. Instead, just as the Kohanim needed to wash before entering the Mishkan to do sacred work, we chaplains needed to wash before doing the sacred work of being with people during a vulnerable time. It gave me a couple minutes to breathe, to set a kavanah, an intention for my upcoming visits, or to integrate whatever experience I had just left. For me, it became a time I could check in with myself and with God. A time I could identify what felt hard, what felt connective, and in what ways did I need guidance and help from my peers, or from my supervisor, or from the source of all. It was a chance to pause, to attend to self-care, and to lessen the risk of harm for those I worked with. Washing my hands these days, in a time of heightened danger and collective fear, I feel anxiety and a sense of pressing responsibility to do what I can to minimize contagion. It's stressful. I try to remember how grounding it felt in the hospital, how taking time to pause and transition can also be a gift, an opportunity to slow down and breathe. Shifting my energy is challenging, but throughout the day I have many chances to practice. I imagine that under the premise of wash so that you do not die, it was stressful for the Kohanim, the priests, as well. What was their approach? How did they do it? I looked to the Talmud for guidance. In Tractate Zevachim, which is generally about the sacrificial system in the temple, the rabbis ask my same question. Of course, there was some debate. Tanu Rabbanan, Ketzad mitzvat kiddush. The sages taught, how is the mitzvah of sanctification of the hands and feet performed? The priest lays his right hand on top of his right foot and his left hand on top of his left foot and sanctifies them with water flowing from the basin. I guess it looked something like this. Did you see that? Something like that. But someone disagrees. Rabbi Yosef, son of Rabbi Yehuda, says he lays both his hands one on top of the other and lays them together on top of both his feet, themselves one on top of the other, and sanctifies them. Aha, it must have looked something like this. emotions involved. And I imagine it would be especially difficult with 20 seconds of vigorous scrubbing in between the toes. I recently injured my left foot and had to get 2 stitches by my little toe. As part of my healing regime, I was told to wash my foot with warm, soapy water twice a day to keep the wound clean. With 2 hands and 1 foot involved, it was already a precarious feeling, and more than a couple times, true story, I nearly toppled. 2 feet and 2 hands simultaneously? This proposal stretches the imaginations of even the famously creative rabbis, and a group of them protest. They said to him, "You have gone too far. It is impossible to do so." That is a direct quote from the Talmud. But one rabbi is not convinced. Rav Yosef says, and his friend would assist him so that he could maintain his balance. What is deemed impossible alone is hard, but plausible with collaboration and help. What is deemed impossible alone is hard, but plausible with collaboration and help. We no longer have a mishkan and a copper washing bowl, a designated time and place to stop and wash, to prepare us to encounter Shekhinah. Now the world is our mishkan, and we seem to be perpetually transitioning from activity to activity, from place to place. How do we know when we have arrived? How do we know when we have left? My dear friend Jessica frames her life with the belief that she is always doing one of 4 things: entering a magic circle, being in a magic circle, exiting a magic circle, or resting from a magic circle. It's a good way to live. Gathered here, in person and virtually, I think we are currently in a magic circle. A time-space held by our attention and presence together. When we exit this circle, let's wash our hands, ritually marking the transition with an act of both self-care and care for others. A solo moment that connects us in a web of loving connection. Back in Ki Tisa, after giving instructions on washing, God tells Moses to make a sacred anointing oil of myrrh, cinnamon, aromatic cane, cassia, cassia, and olive oil, and to sanctify the Mishkan, the ark, and all of the vessels with it. The closing verse uses the root kuf dalet shin, which means to be holy, 4 times in distinct forms. One for each of Jessica's ways of relating to the world. Quote, this is the last line that Shulamit chanted. V'kidashta otam v'hayu kodash kodashim kol hanogea bahem yikdash. You shall make them holy, and they will be holy of holies. Whatever touches them shall be holy. As we are concerned with the dangerous contagion of a new virus, I find this counterexample of contagion oddly comforting. Yes, we are intimately connected to each other. Yes, our contact can spread germs. But contagion, the Torah teaches us, can also apply to holiness, to smiles and compassion, to laughter. May we be blessed to pass on to each other Kedusha, holiness, as we tend to ourselves and our community to foster health, including each and every time we wash our hands. Shabbat shalom.
Beautiful, beautiful Torah. Return the Torah to the ark on page 16. Invite you to rise in body and in spirit and to remain in that space as we move on to Elenu, page 62.
Elenu, page 62. It's time here, the mighty God, the Torah, Nerusha, Derachena, Darkena, V'chol Timotecha, Shalom. Hashivenu Adonai Elechem Hashua Kadesh Kadesh Yameinu Kadesh Yameinu Continuing risen in body or in spirit, with may we feel your holy power, our creative Elenu. The words are on page 62. May we feel your holy power. May we feel your holy strength. May we feel your holy presence.
Mourner's Cottage is on page 65. I invite people who are mourning a recent loss, rise your body and spirit here, wherever you are, to share the names of the people that you've lost.
Maria Pestel.
My father, Norman Finkler. If you're observing the art site, if you're remembering somebody who died at the season in years past, I invite you to rise also in body and spirit to share those names. Yitkadal, Yitkadash, Shnei Rabbah.
Amen.
Yalman Dibra Hirute, Yamlik Malhute, Chaye Hon, Yomechon, Uchaye L'Kol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala Bizman Karim V'Iru.
Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah V'Rabach Le'olam Olamei Amaya.
Yitbarach V'Yishtabach V'Yitpa'ar V'Yitromam V'Yitnaseh V'Yitadar V'Yitaleh V'Yitolal Shmei V'Shusha V'Riku Le'ela Mikol Birkata V'Shirata Tushbahata V'Nechamata Ta'amiram B'Yalma V'Iru.
Amen.
Yehi Shlomo Rabba V'Yishamaya V'Chayim V'Yimim V'Yalko Yisrael V'Iru.
Amen.
Say Shalom V'Yamah V'Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'Yalko Yisrael V'Yalko Yishmael V'Yalko Yishvei Tevel V'Iru.
Zecher Chayehem Livracha, Livracha. May their memories last our days, last our days.
We'll conclude in a moment with the nigun that we began with. We have a very sweetly prepared, individually portioned challah and grape juice kiddush. We hope that you all have yummy things to do a little kiddush and motzi with. Our main announcement, and I think our only announcement, not really our only, but